Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a brand new video, and today I'm going to be doing somewhat of a little different video. Today I'm going to be doing my Deadside review. I played Deadside for about 450 hours now, so I got a little bit of experience with the game. This isn't really going to be a should you buy Deadside in 2025 just because the game is still young, it's still getting a lot of updates. They are rolling out a little bit slow, like maybe once a month or so. So if you guys don't know anything about Deadside, you haven't heard about this game, I mean, I'm not surprised. This game's got pretty much no marketing going towards it, which is why the player base is really small. Hopefully they don't make the same mistake as XDefiant, where the game had pretty much no marketing. It was just on the word of mouth, and then it just ends up dying in a couple months. But the majority of players that I've seen that come and play Deadside are Rust players and DayZ players. Deadside does have some similarities between Rust and DayZ from what I hear. I haven't played DayZ personally for more than about an hour, so I can't tell you how far the similarities between Deadside and DayZ go. But as far as Rust, the biggest similarity with Rust is the building system. So you can build your own house in Deadside. So you'll notice that in Deadside, a lot of bases do have a large similarity between bases out in Rust. And then what I've been told about DayZ and Deadside, Deadside is more of an arcadey survival game, so it doesn't go as in depth as DayZ goes, where like you have to boil your water, clean your rags and all that stuff. That doesn't really matter in Deadside. You just kind of pick up and go, and then you can get into gunfights, pick up guns, find stuff. You can find loot a whole lot easier in Deadside than you can in DayZ, so that makes it more of a faster paced game, whereas DayZ it's more methodical. You gotta move slower and you gotta be more careful and stuff, and there's zombies in DayZ. Deadside, you don't have any of that. Now when you boot up Deadside for the first time, you'll see there's quite a bit of different options for you to join a server. So you have PvP, where you can PvP all the time, you can raid all the time, doesn't really matter. You have PvP with scheduled raid, so there's only a certain time where people can raid, but PvP is active at all times. You have PvP with no raid, so at no point can you raid anybody, but you can PvP 24/7. And then you have PvE, where it's no PvP and no raids. So it's basically just you versus bots and doing missions and all that stuff, building your base as cool as you want. I would say PvE is the best place to go if you're just trying to learn the game at first, if you've never played sort of a survival shooter. So there's a lot of different options for you to join servers. Not to mention there's also servers that have aim assist, some don't, and then some servers are first person, and then some are third and first person. Not to mention all the community servers with extra loot, extra missions, all that other stuff. So currently there's only two maps, your large map and then your small map. Both maps have a population of 70. It can be turned down depending on the server host, whether you're on community or official. But for the most part, most servers are 70 pop. Smaller map is more centered towards PvP, whereas the larger map is more closer to a survival game. You do have a map that you can open at any time, and it'll tell you a bunch of information like where there's raids happening, where your sleeping bags are, where you can respawn. It shows you where all the missions are and what level those missions are, whether it's 1, 2, 3, level 4. It also shows you where there's care packages, where there's convoys, as well as it shows you where all the landmarks are and the POIs on the map. But one thing I don't like about the big map is how everything is pretty much condensed down to the south part of the map. Now down south you have Kamensk, you have the construction site, and you have Airfield. Airfield being the largest POI on the entire map, and you get all the best loot there, and that's where you find the majority of players on every single server. It's always going to be living around Airfield, and most of them are always going to be at Airfield, going to a couple different POIs every now and then, or going to Kamensk to get some furniture or decorations for a house, or the construction site to get as many nails as you can carry and as much concrete as you can carry. Sure, up north you have that military area where you can go in and get infinite cameras, but normally you just need to go there once or twice every wipe and you'll be set with cameras. There's no need to go back up there, so once you do one trip you're done up north. I wish they could split up, maybe they can split up Airfield into the airstrip and then like the army barracks, and then move construction sites somewhere else. Just sort of spread out some of those really good POIs. That way there's a little bit more variety on where people choose to live and where they base up. I really love the variety in guns. There's a lot of different guns that you can use and choose to go out with. There's obviously some guns that are better than others, but for the most part they're all pretty much equally good. You have a good variety of ARs, SMGs, snipers. The one thing you don't really have much of a variety of is the launchers, and I would say the LMGs. We technically have two LMGs, that being the MG36 and the RPK with an extended mag, but other than that, that's pretty much all you have for the LMGs. I do think it'd be really cool if we can get maybe like an AT4, you know, just something that's just a one-time use rocket launcher that'll pretty much destroy anything in its path. That way we have a little bit of variety in that category. But like I said, I really like the variety in guns. Another thing is I really like the new change they made to found guns. So what I mean by that is guns that you find on the ground whenever you're just looting and stuff. It used to be where every gun you found on the ground would be full health green, and then they changed it to where every gun on the ground you found was always red. But they changed it now, so whenever you find a gun on the ground, it has a chance of either being red, orange, green, or yellow. Green being the best, obviously. I've said it multiple times, a lot of the guns are really balanced, but some of them do have really high recoil. Obviously, by far the most used and like best gun I would say that I see people using all the time is the AKSU. My personal favorite is the AUG. I really like the AUG. It's got really good accuracy, really good fire rate and damage, and it can laser dudes. Maybe they'll nerf it, I don't know, hopefully not, but that's one weapon that I really enjoy. Currently we have a pretty good number of snipers. Each sniper is really good. The only difference is that some snipers are better than others at different ranges, but I think we got a good variety. My personal favorite sniper is the NK. I just like the fact that it's got its own ammo type, 308, but overall the best sniper is definitely going to be the SVD. It's a semi-auto sniper, it's got good damage, really good range, and you can add pretty much any attachment on it. There's also a lot of SMGs, but all the SMGs are really good. But most of the SMGs don't have that much recoil, like the MP5, Bison, the P90 or the P9000 I think it's called. But by far the most abundant SMG you will find is the MP5, especially 9mm ammo. I don't know why, but that ammunition is absolutely everywhere. You always just have an insane amount of 9mm. I'm not gonna talk too much about pistols or shotguns just because you don't really use those things. You use them early in the game, once you're barely starting up, or if you're in a community server where you get a starting pistol. I mean, other than that, you're not really going to be going out into gunfights with a pistol, but you do have some really good shotguns, some auto shotguns. I don't know the name of them off the top of my head just because I don't really use shotguns at all, but I know there's some really good semi-auto shotguns out there that do a whole lot of damage up close. One change I really would like to see in the game though has to do with the guns. I've talked about it in my stream quite a few times. As it is now, once your gun goes from green to yellow, it loses a little bit of accuracy, and then once it goes from yellow to orange, that's when it starts losing damage. And then once it gets to the red, that's when your gun starts jamming up. With the snipers, once you shoot a couple shots, maybe like 1 or 2 mags, maybe mag and a half, that's when the accuracy starts to go down in the snipers. And for the snipers, for the accuracy to go down, it makes them really fucking hard for you to actually hit anything. For all the automatic guns like the ARs, SMGs, it doesn't really affect them that much, but it still does a little bit, right? I'd like to see the devs change it so that whenever your gun's health goes down to yellow, it doesn't change anything, it doesn't make the gun function any differently. It's just sort of a warning like, hey, your gun's getting weak, you either fix it or you're gonna suffer the consequences, you know? And then once it hits orange, that's when you start losing your accuracy, and then when it gets red, that's when your gun starts jamming up and the damage goes down, because at that point the gun's already useless, you know? You might as well either just chop it up for parts or just get a new one, or fix it up at that point. I think it's pretty easy to get around the map. Even if you don't have a vehicle, you can get around the map pretty easily just by running everywhere. It does take a lot longer than without having a vehicle, obviously, but it's not that big of a deal, to be honest. You can find berries all over the map that give you a 15% speed boost so you can run around faster. The maneuverability though on the vehicles, like when you're turning left and right, it does kind of suck, especially going like down a hill. You kind of just speed down uncontrollably. Motorcycles for some reason are a lot harder to maneuver. I don't know why. It just feels like there's some input lag there. One thing that I really hate and I really want them to fix though is that bug when you're trying to mount over something, maybe like climb a wall, and it just doesn't work. I don't understand what's going on with that. I'm sure that's a bug. Hopefully they're working on a fix on it, but it's probably gonna be a while before we see it. Another issue I have with the movement is when you're trying to run and you're trying to jump over rails or maybe sandbags or something, I feel like 80% of the time you're not gonna be able to jump over it. Don't know why. Maybe jumping is just not high enough. Maybe if they increase the height of where you jump, then you'll be able to jump over stuff like that. But other than that, running, moving around, all that stuff is not that bad. I just sort of avoid jumping over things just because I know 90% of the time, 80% of the time, it's just not gonna happen. I'm not gonna lie, guys. Ever since community servers came out, that's what I've been playing, and it kind of takes the survival aspect out of Deadside just because every single server that I've joined has always given you food and water. So the survival aspect for me has been gone. But when I have played official games, it's actually very difficult to find food and water. Obviously, once you get to know the map well, you start to figure out where all the wells are in each town and city and all that stuff. You actually get to find food and water a lot easier because you know where it is. But in the beginning, it is very difficult to find where food and water is at. I remember when we first started playing, me and my buddy would always just end up killing ourselves every single time just because we would always be either starving or dehydrated. There are animals that you can hunt like ducks, deers. You can also go fishing. Fishing would probably be one of the easiest ways to get food. Water, again, it's not super hard because you can just make some water catchers up in your house and then just fill your water bottles up as the water catchers start filling up. With post-launch support, I wouldn't say Deadside is doing a good job, but I also wouldn't say they're doing a bad job. I think they're somewhere in the middle where it's okay, right? But one thing I don't like though is the fact that there's a gap between when PC gets an update and then console gets an update, because it's not that big of a gap. There's really no reason for an update to drop on PC and then a month later on console. That's just a little pet peeve I have. It's not really anything too crazy about the game, but I would like to see both games drop updates at the same time for both PC and console. There are new items that are going to be coming with 1.5 as well. They're going to be changing some things up with the way gas works. Gasoline is going to be stackable. I mean, if you want to go watch what's coming with 1.5, you can go search that up on YouTube. But they are changing the way how some things work, and they are adding some new items into the game like sandbags and metal barricades that are also coming. So they're dropping new items, which is really good. But the one thing that I really wish they would actually update is the turrets, because currently there is absolutely zero way for you to defend your base while you're offline. Turrets do absolutely nothing. They are completely useless. I don't know if it was a bug or something, but when turrets were able to shoot twice as fast, I mean, that actually helped out quite a bit because turrets were a lot deadlier then. So hopefully they update the target acquisition for turrets very soon, and maybe they also add a couple extra things, you know, to help you defend your base. Overall, I think Deadside is a really good game. The current version of Deadside is only like 3 months old, at least on console it is. I know it's been out longer on PC, but on console, the full game has been out for about 3 months. One thing I did forget to mention though is I do wish that they started doing hot fixes. With 1.5, there's 23 bug fixes that are coming with the update. I'm sure that some of those bug fixes could have been done as a hot fix, but I think the gunplay is really nice. There's not a lot of randomness attached to it. As far as I'm aware, weapons have a designated recoil pattern, so you can learn them pretty well. With missions being all over the map, going from level 1 missions to level 4, as well as convoys, there's always something to do. So overall, I really like this game. I enjoy it, and I know in the future they're going to be adding a whole lot more things to the game to make it more interesting. So maybe in the next year, hopefully the game is doing well, but they do got to ramp up their marketing because there's not that many people left. Currently on PC, the max is around 1,500 people, and on console, the daily max is usually about 5,000 to 6,000 people. So not that many people are playing this game, but hopefully in the future with marketing and hopefully people making videos on it, the community starts to grow and we get a lot more people signing in on Deadside. But anyways guys, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, let me know what you thought, and that's gonna be it. Peace.